my name is Hannah. Welcome back to my channel. I have read some books, some really good, and some that I had some issues with in the past week, and so I'm really excited to talk about them. So let's just jump into the book reviews. So last week I read the book The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin, and so this week I read The World We Make, which is the second one, and I was so glad I picked it up. It is basically the city of New York. All the different boroughs have a human avatar and they are fighting an alien. I mean, fun kind of concept. I liked the idea, and really my biggest complaint with the first book was just that I didn't realize it was the first book and everything wasn't wrapped up really nicely. And I think that this book helped me in that while it still leaves a lot of room for there to be another one, it ended on a note that I'm like, all right, I can relax. I enjoyed the book. I thought it was worthwhile. And it just, you know, when you read a good fantasy book where you feel sad that you're leaving that world, right? Like, this was a world that was very interesting and involved and unique, and I liked learning about it and being part of it. And when I had to end the book, it was sad. I think for a bit of just beautiful escapism, pick up these books. I really enjoyed them, and I think the second one did a good job. I wasn't disappointed. I wasn't like, oh, well, the first one was good, but the second one just let it down. The second one did go a little bit in depth and off the rails in certain aspects, but I didn't think it was bad. I think that it really kept true to the spirit of the first one, and I appreciated it. For a 5-star, highly recommend book, I read The Song of the Cell, an exploration of medicine and the new human by Siddhartha Mukherjee, and I loved this book. So I have read his other books. I read the book that he wrote about cancer, and then last year or 2 years ago I read The Gene, and I was a little concerned that The Gene, because genes and cells, I mean, I thought that maybe it would be a lot of the same information repackaged. And I don't know if that is a pet peeve of yours, but there are certain authors who write, especially nonfiction, and they have their specialty and their focus. And sometimes if you read more than one of their books, it just feels like the same information, but they're rearranging it and repackaging it to make another book. And I was worried that that might be the case, and it was not. This was an excellent look into cells, what they are, how they were discovered, how they function in your body, and the research and what we're learning going forward. It was incredible. And what I love about this author is that I feel like he is able to go into more depth, a little bit more, I don't know, maybe more scientifically rigorous, but it still feels accessible. And so I really like that. I feel like I'm not just learning, a general idea dumbed down a lot. I feel like I'm really understanding a lot more of these concepts. And so I really liked that. I really thought this book was incredible with talking about the new treatments and the diseases that we are able to treat through cell therapy, and what we're learning about cells and what that means for medicine in a practical sense. And I think that this author has a background in like oncology and the study of cancer, and I thought that his understanding of medicine going with the science just really was important. It really made it feel very meaningful and not just an abstract scientific type book, but a book that has such practical applications in science, and that we can actually see what is happening based on the information that we know. And so I highly recommend this book. I thought that it was really well done. I think his other books were also really well done. They've been in my, top nonfiction list for a while, but I thought this was an exceptional book and probably the best one I've read this whole year so far, past couple weeks. So highly recommend. Now, I picked up this next book on the recommendation of Scott at Gunpowder Fiction and Plot, so make sure to check out his channel if you haven't already. I picked up the book Wade in the Water by Yanni Kruma. This is following the stories of two different people. We have Ella, a young black girl, and Miss St. James, who are living in a racially divided Mississippi town in the 80s. Miss St. James moves into the all-black side of town, and she is white. And they strike up a friendship, this girl and this woman. Throughout this book, we learn about the difficult life of Ella living in her family as the darkest child in a black family and how she is mistreated because of that. And we also see Miss St. James and her life throughout the 60s and what happened in her life growing up with a father who was a member of the Klan. This book was very much The Help, or one of those other white saviory type books, if you turn it on its head and show that this woman hasn't dealt with the racism in her past, even though she feels like she's moved past it, and it kind of subverts this white saviory trope. And I thought that that was really interesting. I feel like you weren't supposed to know how to feel about this woman who says that she's changed, but you can tell that she hasn't really confronted some of the racist behavior of her father and of herself. And so I thought that that was really well done that way. It was an interesting one. It's just one of those books that's gonna make me think for a while. I don't know if I loved it, but it did give me some things to think about. I think that where I struggled a little was just child endangerment. Poor Ella in a situation that was very unsafe and never feeling like that was resolved very well. And that was really hard for me to read. So overall, it was an interesting book. If you've read this, let me know what you think, because I thought that it had some really interesting ideas. I liked the idea of taking this trope of this white woman coming into a black community to tell their stories and kind of turning it around and saying she is part of the problem. And I thought that that was really a great idea. I read Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. There is Tress, who lives on an island in a small emerald sea, and the boy she loves is kidnapped by the evil sorceress, and she decides to escape her island. She joins up with a gang of pirates and goes off to rescue him, basically. What I think Brandon Sanderson does well and still does really well in this book was the magic systems and the world building. I really liked the idea of all these different seas and the different colors, and they have these different spores that when mixed with water do different things, like create vines or spikes, and being able to harness that power and use it in different ways. I like that kind of thing. But this is a standalone kind of book, and we're not getting some really in-depth world building, which is a bummer. I want to know more about that part. What didn't do it for me was the characters. I did not think that they were super well done. I think that our main character, Tress, was very plucky and all the things that you want, to the point that she was annoying. Like, I just couldn't find enough flaws in her to see her as a really flawed or interesting character. And if you've read Sanderson books before, I feel like all of these characters that were in here were just versions of other characters he's had in other books. I just didn't really buy into any of their motivations or that they were real people, you know? And so the characterization was a bit of a bummer. I thought the plot was really interesting, and as an escapism type thing, it's fine. It was good. I enjoyed that. But another thing that didn't work for me is the narrator. They had Hoyd, who, if you are a Cosmere fan, has been in like all the books, I guess. I have not followed all of it, but a little bit, all right? And we have Hoyd, who is narrating large portions of this book. Now, I don't know about you, but I find it really annoying when someone is trying to tell me what the moral of the story is while I'm reading it. And I feel like his narration wasn't giving me the quirky, fun asides that I think was the goal there. Instead, it was him trying to tell me what the point is. So, for example, a pirate is wondering why she didn't kill him, and then we have to have Hoyd jump in to explain his whole change of heart and how that softened his heart and never knew people could be kind to him before, or we have to have them it spelled out for us, and I dislike that a lot. So I found anytime Hoyd was talking, I'm like I really didn't want to read those parts, and I just thought, well, the characters, like the main character, she's great, she's fine, that I just wasn't getting enough actual human emotions. Everything was too, she has all the bravery, all the determination, she's gonna do it. Like, it just wasn't working well for me. So overall, I enjoyed the plot and the world building and didn't like some of the other elements, and so the book was okay. It was fine. It was just kind of middle of the road for me, like 3 stars, just meh. And that is what I have read the past week or so. If you have thoughts on these books, please leave them in the comments down below. I should be back soon with another book wrap up, and I will see you all on the next one.